This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. A 26-year-old single dad is fighting for his life in hospital. The Steinbacher stopped on the highway to help a stranded motorist. Now he's in critical condition while his family tries to pick up the pieces. CBC's Felicia Adam has more.
We have Mikey here.
On his way to work on Wednesday morning, Ryan Fast thought nothing of an accident he passed by. It was until he got a call from his mom that he realized his older brother was hurt in that crash.
I thought nothing of it, and then I got the phone call from my mother, and I was like, there's no way that was him. There's no way.
Fast and his brother Colin Unruh are now stuck waiting. Nearly an hour away in Winnipeg, their brother Michael Buchert is in surgery, the first of many he'll need.
Just broken everywhere.
He is fighting and fighting hard.
The 26-year-old often drives Highway 52 to get to work after dropping his son at daycare. This week was no different until he saw someone broken down near the median.
Mikey pulled over in front of him in the passing lane to help him.
But while trying to help, a passing car hit Buchert and then hit the two cars pulled over. Fast says his older brother was thrown into the curb. His injuries too long to list. Nearly every bone in his body broken or fractured. He also suffered brain hemorrhaging and internal injuries.
They say it's a miracle that he's alive.
Buchert's brothers say he was hurt doing something he always does, helping someone else.
Pretty common thing he does. And it just got unfortunate.
Leaving him with a long list of surgeries coming up and an even longer road to recovery.
Once he's out of the hospital, recovery could be years, like 2, 3, 4 years of physio.
The family is raising money for ongoing expenses and for Buchert's 5-year-old son. RCMP says it's investigating, but no charges have been laid. Felicia Adam, CBC News, Steinbach.
For some parents, the term partial day may be all too familiar. Inclusion Canada surveyed parents of children with learning disabilities who feel like they're being pushed out from school. Advocates and parents are worried about the impact it could have on kids. CBC's Mike Arsenault has the story.
Access to school is a fundamental right for all kids in Canada, but a recent survey suggests that may not be the case for all children. Alana Vermette lives in Manitoba. Her 14-year-old son has special needs and an intellectual disability. She says he was having trouble in school and wasn't getting the proper supports.
For a month straight, they sent him home every single day. They suspended him from school for a 3-day block about 5 times.
Vermette says a couple of months ago, the school suggested he reduce his hours in class to just 2 a day.
And I looked at them and I started to cry. And I said, you guys need to do better. These kids deserve better.
Partial days are a growing concern for Inclusion Canada. It surveyed almost 200 parents of children with learning disabilities across Canada about the reasons their kids were only at school for part of the day. CEO Krista Carr says partial days usually start when a parent is asked to pick up their kids for some sort of behavioral challenges.
That typically will then lead to the requirement of the school to only send your child to school for X number of hours a day, or only certain days of the week, or only certain times of the day, et cetera, et cetera.
Carr says the families they surveyed spoke about the stress, anxiety, and mental health impacts on the kids.
Feeling that they don't belong at school, feeling like they're not wanted, not to mention the educational gaps in learning.
The Winnipeg School Division says over the last couple years, they've taken steps to ensure all kids are in school from 9 to 3:30.
Because of people's best intentions, that sometimes we think that removing children from healthy peers is the best way to educate them, and when in fact all the research shows that healthy peers, strong teaching, strong instruction is the key.
Matt Henderson says some schools work with families on a partial days plan, but nothing is mandated. Vermette feels like her son is missing out.
They make them feel less than because they have a disability.
Inclusion Canada hopes the report will spark meaningful change and ensure schools provide the same hours of education for all students. Mike Arsenault, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The results are in, and they aren't all that great. Grade 12 students in Manitoba tested worse in advanced math and French last year than they did during the 4 most recent testing years. CBC's Gavin Axelrod has more on the numbers and the reaction to them.
Manitoba brought back provincial testing in 2024 for the first time since the pandemic, but the results posted by the province show grade 12 students scored significantly worse than previous years in some areas and only marginally improved in others. One of those subjects, pre-calculus, where the provincial average was 62.4%. That's down from 66% in 2016 and around 68% in the following 3 years. University of Winnipeg math professor Anna Stocky isn't impressed with those scores.
The scores are generally quite poor, but the pre-calculus 40S scores I thought were fairly alarming.
Stocky says while the marks are for a grade 12 test, good math habits start before the last year of high school.
Fewer students are going to be prepared to take university math because pre-calculus is the class that prepares them to take university math.
But math aside, scores in the Français Langue Première 40S were also significantly lower than the last 4 provincial exam cycles. In 2024, the average was 64.6% compared to low 70s from 2016 to 2019. Manitoba's Education Minister Tracy Schmidt says students everywhere are struggling to recover from their experiences during the COVID-19 pandemic.
I think this data is very important. Yeah, we wish the numbers were better, and we're going to work hard. But that's the reason why we collect this data and why we release it and why we analyze it, is to see where we're trending and how we can do better.
In a statement to CBC News, progressive conservative education critic Grant Jackson says he's concerned to see the declining scores in French and some math areas and called on the Manitoba government to take, quote, immediate action to halt these declines. Meanwhile, provincial English exams didn't happen in 2024, but they did make their return this year. Gavin Axelrod, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Members of the Winnipeg Police Board met with representatives from 7-Eleven today. The convenience store giant warned city councillors last year that problems with theft and violence could lead to the closure of several of their stores. Since then, a number of locations have permanently shut their doors. The mayor had a meeting with the company last month. Today, Police Board Chair Marcus Chambers says he wants to prevent more stores from closing.
Recognizing that it's not sustainable to have, upwards of $500 or $600 daily being ripped off from your stores. So it is about sustainability and how we can work together.
Chambers says police plan to launch a new retail theft initiative once the new North District station is fully operational. This would be similar to the project police conducted over the holidays. Now, this next story contains video of a man being hit by a police cruiser. The video first circulated on social media back in 2023 when it happened, and now a Brandon police officer has been charged. Police were responding to a call about an attempted arson. The suspect ran away from the scene, and the officer hit him with his car in front of the police headquarters. The man ended up with a broken arm. Constable Myron Ham has now been charged with assault causing bodily harm and dangerous driving causing bodily harm. Let's bring in weather specialist Riley Laychuk now. And Riley, a very different day it felt like outside today. That wind, my goodness, lots of people dealing with that on their faces. And we're ready for that warm weather to come back again.
I can tell you my walk into work this morning, not that pleasant. It was a bit of a reality check. Looking at some of our peak winds from today, early this morning peaking at 87 kilometers an hour in Winnipeg. Lots of 70s, lots of 60s as well across southern Manitoba, even into northwestern Ontario. Wind gusts peaking at 50 to 60 kilometers an hour, and it's that north wind that really bit as that cold front swept through. Behind that, mainly sunny skies in northern Manitoba. We did clear out here in Winnipeg to a mainly sunny afternoon today. A bit of cloud hanging around back to the west, but as high pressure sets in as we get into the weekend, that will clear most of Manitoba out as we head into the day tomorrow. Minus 21 overnight tonight in Winnipeg. Another cold one, but clear skies into the morning. Sunny skies to start. Minus 19 in Winnipeg. And Brittany, another below seasonal day tomorrow at minus 7. Yes, a lot better than that cold snap we saw, but we do have another warm up on the way. I'll have that when I come back.
All right, waiting for that warm up.
Yes.
Thank you, Riley.
You're welcome.
Well, there's an upside to the colder forecast. The Forks says skating trails and rinks are back open as temperatures dropped below freezing. This comes just days after the Nestawaya River Trail and the site's on-land rinks and trail closed due to above-zero temperatures. All have now reopened except the Canopy Rink. Walking and biking paths along the river trail are in variable condition, but they're open, and the public is being advised to exercise caution as the Forks only test ice on the official trail. Discovery of possible human remains at a Manitoba landfill brings mixed emotions for advocates of MMIWG families. We'll hear from some of them straight ahead. Stay with us. The discovery of possible human remains at a landfill near Winnipeg this week is stirring up difficult emotions for some people, including a woman whose sister is also believed to have been the victim of a serial killer. Despite more than 20 years passing since her sister's disappearance, it's still painful. CBC's Zubina Ahmed has more.
The discovery of possible human remains at the Prairie Green landfill is personal and deeply emotional for Myrna Abraham. She is the sister of Sharon Abraham, a mother of 5 who was reported missing in January 2004 from BC. RCMP said forensic evidence linked her DNA to serial killer Robert Picton's farm. Myrna says her body was never found and no charges were laid.
The DNA they found was not enough DNA to say that she has passed because there's no body in that the government considers her still missing.
Myrna has participated in rallies and marches in support of the search at the Prairie Green landfill. She hopes the news gives some kind of closure to the families.
I hope they're able to bring their loved one home because I know when we had a memorial for my sister, there was no body, no nothing.
The news also hits home for Tanya Dawn McDougall. McDougall has been offering support to the father of Ashley Shingoose. Shingoose is a 31-year-old woman from St. Teresa Point First Nation who was last seen in downtown Winnipeg in March 2022. McDougall says Wednesday's news is hard because it opens up wounds of grief for many, like Shingoose's father.
A landfill is not the ending for any person. Being able to possibly take your loved one home, I mean, I know that's what they've been wanting, that's what they've been praying for.
Sandra Delarond is a longtime advocate for missing and murdered Indigenous people.
It's certainly a renewal of grief, grief delayed, that has been impacted by the ongoing trauma caused by systems.
Zubina Ahmed, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The landfill search for the remains of Morgan Harris and Mercedes Myron came after a man was convicted of killing them along with 2 other women. Now, during that trial, the victims' families were verbally attacked and threatened. Now, that man is also heading to jail. Nicholas Delaney pleaded guilty to uttering threats. A judge called the threats vile and chilling and sentenced Delaney to 15 months for uttering threats. The incident involved a group, including one of the victim's daughters, who were outside court during that murder trial. Delaney was on meth and off his schizophrenia medication at the time. The judge says there was no evidence his mental illness caused his actions. About 7,000 allied healthcare professionals in Manitoba could hit the picket line next Friday. Their union has issued a strike deadline, saying the employer's offer is falling short. The CBC's Rosanna Hempel explains.
They came close to picketing in June 2023, after more than 5 years without a collective agreement. About 7,000 allied healthcare professionals are now once again on the verge of a strike.
I think the biggest piece is people are shocked that this is happening under this government.
The Manitoba Association of Healthcare Professionals represents about 50 professions, including rural paramedics, pharmacists, physiotherapists, social workers, and more. They work across the province for Shared Health and the Northern and Winnipeg Regional Health Authorities. Their last contract expired at the end of March last year. Union President Jason Linklater says they need a new one that addresses recruitment, retention, and wages.
Our goal with this contract is to make allied health stable and dependable, because that's the only way to fix healthcare. Right now, we're losing too many people. We had that net loss in January.
He says, though, bargaining broke down on Thursday. Linklater says essential services, including emergency services, will be there for Manitobans in the event of a strike. But less urgent ones, such as diagnostic tests and home care, could experience delays.
An allied health strike, it will be very disruptive. It could potentially set Manitoba back for years because of those wait lists that already exists, those wait times for surgeries, tests, treatments, assessments.
A spokesperson for the health minister says Shared Health is committed to bargaining in good faith and that they're hopeful an agreement will be reached. If not, the union says allied healthcare workers will hit the picket line on March 7th. Rosanna Hempel, CBC News, Winnipeg.
And the union representing 1,300 faculty at the University of Manitoba is also set to go on strike. UMFA says that could happen as early as March 10th if a deal isn't reached soon. The association represents professors, instructors, and librarians at the university. It says the administration has not addressed some of its core bargaining issues like working conditions, workload, and childcare. Bargaining for them resumes Monday. That cold hit different today after having a bunch of days above zero that we were spoiled with, and some of us looking already past the weekend to next week to some nicer temperatures again.
We are looking at temperatures, Brittany, rebounding as we get into next week. But certainly we've fallen back onto the cold side of that jet stream as we've gotten through into the day today. Here's a look at our upper level winds to start tonight. And yes, you can see where that upper ridge has kind of taken over and pushed the jet stream just a little bit further to the west. So all of Manitoba now onto the cold side of that jet stream. Not helping matters is this area of low pressure over northern Quebec. That's helping funnel some of that cold Arctic air down into the prairie provinces right now. Manitoba, Saskatchewan, seeing some falling temperatures, but still looking at warm conditions back to the west as well. And we will see that jet stream resetting itself a little bit as we get through the weekend. So tomorrow, another chilly one, closer to seasonal, albeit a bit brighter. But as we get into the day on Tuesday and into next week, you can see the jet stream kind of ebbing and flowing here. So we return above seasonal and then we fall back closer to freezing again by the time we get to mid next week. So a little bit of an up and down. And with that comes some changing sky conditions and a little bit more instability as we get into the next week as well. So high pressure over Saskatchewan. This will clear skies out and really cool us down as we get through the overnight hours into Saturday, and also really help to calm our winds as we get into the day on Saturday as well. So a bit of a calmer day tomorrow into Sunday as that area of high pressure exits. We do allow a little bit more instability back into the mix here. Some cloud cover starts to mix in. So mix of sun and clouds really as we get through Sunday, and another system making its way across northern Manitoba. Maybe a couple centimeters of snow for places like Thompson as we get through into the day on Sunday, and along the Hudson Bay coast, maybe expecting a bit of snow later Sunday into Monday as well. Not much in the way of accumulation, but certainly could see a little bit of snow to end the weekend into Monday morning. Temperatures to start tomorrow morning, I know another bit of a reality check morning, not as cold as it was this morning, but certainly looking at a chilly one below seasonal to start minus 19 first thing in the morning for Winnipeg, minus 20 for Brandon, minus 19s into the west as well, and temperatures closer to minus 30 into northern Manitoba to start tomorrow morning. It's the last one of these for a while. Just I'll take my word for it as you look at the long range here. So up to minus 7 tomorrow afternoon, plus 1 on the way for Sunday. Bit of cloud comes into Monday as we start to change that pattern once again. That brings with it a chance of flurries Tuesday, Brittany, and temperatures back up above seasonal into mid next week.
Okay, thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
We have more to come after this. Stay with us. We're back in just a moment. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News.
Hey Winnipeg, the CBC Kids News Contributor Search is on, so get ready to shine.
We're looking for new talent to join our team, and we're coming to your city.
If you're the parent of a 9 to 15-year-old who loves making videos and is an amazing storyteller,
come meet our hiring producers at CF Polo Park on Saturday, March 1st from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m.
To learn more, head over to cbckidsnews.ca/Winnipeg.
Who knows? This could be the start of something great.
U.S. President Donald Trump cut short a meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky after an explosive session at the White House. Zelensky had planned to sign a deal to give the U.S. access to Ukraine's mineral industry. But the visit quickly devolved into a heated exchange, with Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance berating the Ukrainian leader. Richard Madden reports from Washington.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. I'm not telling you. Because you're in no position to dictate that.
A stunning, unprecedented, and tense exchange inside the Oval Office as Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky berated by President Donald Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance.
You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. That's back to you. Far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Have you said thank you once this entire meeting? No, in this entire meeting, have you said thank you?
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, He's not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly. Your country is in big trouble. Wait a minute. No. You've done a lot of talking. Your country is in big trouble. I know. You're not winning. You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us. Mr. President.
Trump showing no sympathy ahead of an intended signing ceremony guaranteeing Ukraine's security in exchange for billions worth of Ukraine's critical minerals to the U.S. Western allies believe this high-stakes deal could lead to a ceasefire in Ukraine's bloody war against Russia. But the chat quickly went off the rails.
Of course, we want to stop the war. But you're saying you don't want a ceasefire. But I said to you, I want a ceasefire. With guarantees. Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement. Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think. That wasn't with me. For you that wasn't with me.
Trump accusing Zelensky of being difficult and greedy.
If you didn't have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks. In 3 days. I heard it from Putin. In 3 days. This is something maybe new. Less. In 2 weeks. Of course, yes. It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this.
Their scheduled press conference was abruptly canceled. Zelensky was reportedly booted from the White House, leaving without a deal and raising more questions if the U.S. will continue supporting Ukraine as its war continues. On his social media platform, Trump accused Zelensky of disrespecting the U.S., but adding he's welcome to return to the White House when he's ready for peace. This shocking confrontation has appalled Western allies, but is being applauded by Trump's base, who view Zelensky as a grifter. Richard Madden, CBC News, Washington.
Now, people here in Manitoba's Ukrainian community say they watch the interaction in the Oval Office closely. Nick Kravets is a third-generation Ukrainian Canadian. He called the exchange disrespectful and disgraceful and says the rest of the world needs to stand up for Ukraine now more than ever.
To me, I think it's outrageous to see a U.S. president repeating and internalizing Russian propaganda, misinformation lines, along with his vice president in the Oval Office, is an utter embarrassment. And it is a complete disregard of the bravery and heroism and Ukraine's agency as a sovereign, independent nation, which has been fighting back against Russian aggression for 11 plus years, not just 3 years, as this war started in 2014. They have lost thousands of people. And his actions, his words, his tone and his demeanor was a complete disgrace and disrespect to the Ukrainian president and the Ukrainian people.
Israel's Gaza ceasefire negotiators are reportedly looking to change the timetable of January's framework agreement, extending the first phase into April. It was set to end tomorrow. It's unfolded with Israeli hostages freed in return for Palestinian prisoners. Phase 2 involves steps to make the ceasefire permanent. But details remain for negotiation. Israel had long balked at ending the conflict before achieving its war aims. A Hamas statement is urging world leaders to back Phase 2's immediate implementation. A general strike paralyzed Greece today on the anniversary of a notorious train crash in 2023. Hundreds of thousands demonstrated. Everything from schools to airlines were affected, and there were clashes with police. At the root of the outrage, the 57 who died when two trains collided on February 28, 2023. Neglected infrastructure was widely blamed, and critics want a parliamentary criminal inquiry. A new report says the safety gaps behind the crash still remain. Ontario Premier Doug Ford has made history. He's won a third consecutive majority in the province, the first time that's happened in decades. But with U.S. threats to the Canadian economy and its sovereignty, the next 4 years could prove to be rocky. CBC's Nicole Williams reports.
A historic win, and with it, a promise to fight U.S. President Donald Trump head on.
Canada will never, ever be the 51st state. And Canada is not for sale.
It's Doug Ford's Progressive Conservatives' third consecutive majority in the province of Ontario, with 80 seats in the legislature, a first since 1959.
A strong mandate that outlives and outlasts the Trump administration. A mandate to do whatever it takes to protect Ontario.
The new Democratic Party fell short of making gains, in fact lost 3 seats, but remained the official opposition. And a concession speech with an offer.
I really do want to offer him any possible help that we can provide in the face of the threat of Donald Trump.
I know tonight isn't exactly the result we were looking for.
The Liberals managed to return to official party status, a bittersweet victory with leader Bonnie Crombie failing to win her seat. Ford called the snap election late last month, hoping to gain even more seats he said would help him take on the White House.
I will never stop working for you because we're in a battle for the future of our province, for the future of our country.
But the next 4 years unlikely to be easy.
There will be obviously pain in Ontario if those tariffs are enacted. But so far, that has not come at the expense of Doug Ford's popularity.
A day after his historic win, Ford canceled his traditional press conference. Conservative strategists suggesting he's already working on an approach to tariffs.
He almost needs to assemble a wartime cabinet to be prepared to do that, and I would assume that he would be having those conversations today.
Beyond this existential threat, Ford will also need to confront some key issues here at home, including affordable housing, healthcare, and the RCMP investigation into his role in putting up parts of the Greenbelt for sale. Nicole Williams, CBC News, Toronto.
Ontario is experiencing a sudden surge in measles cases since an outbreak began last October. The province is reporting 84 new cases over the course of 2 weeks. That's the largest outbreak Ontario has seen in almost 30 years, according to health officials. Measles can cause serious illness and even death in unvaccinated children and teens. So far, 18 people have been hospitalized. The virus also spread here to Manitoba. The province says there were 5 confirmed cases here earlier this month, but say there have been no additional cases since. It's an issue consumer protection can't seem to get a handle on. A lot of people say they continue to get duped into pricey and unfair contracts for home heating and cooling equipment, all under the watch of a government that should be protecting them. Here's Rosa Marcatelli from CBC's Marketplace.
Please make your way into the studio.
All these people say they were taken by the same company, Provincial Smart Home Services.
Hi, my name is Ariana, and I'm here with my dad, Juan, and he signed a contract for $32,000.
Jim Ball, Burlington, Ontario. We signed a contract for $50,000.
They say the company made promises when they bought home heating and cooling equipment about government rebates, lower energy bills, and more, but didn't deliver. And then locked them into massive loans with skyrocketing interest rates, involving financing companies they never agreed to do business with.
It's like this is a nightmare for us. We can't sleep, and then we don't know how this is gonna end.
Provincial Smart Home Services is now facing charges under the Ontario Consumer Protection Act. The company says it followed all the rules and has now shut down. Despite that, their customers are still on the hook for those massive loans under the financing companies.
Well, I mean, like everyone here, we're all very angry. But I think in the end, I'm also greatly disappointed in the government system. When is this going to stop?
Bethany Pascudo is a lawyer and advocate.
There just aren't any punishments that match the crime.
She says even in cases where charges are laid, the government often doesn't follow through.
You're only as good as your results.
Case in point, she says. In 2022, Marketplace told you about a man named Saeed Tourbati. At the time, he and his HVAC companies were facing more than 100 charges under Ontario's Consumer Protection Act.
Nobody really cares about your reasons or excuses.
After that story, the government made a confidential deal with Tourbati, dropping the charges and taking him off a consumer watch list. In exchange, Tourbati had to pay restitution to customers, but the government won't say how many people actually got money, nor how much.
It protects the HVAC dealers. It's the consumers we need to be worried about protecting.
Saeed Tourbati says the deal with prosecutors was not an indication of any misconduct and was only meant to ensure customer satisfaction. When we asked the Ontario government how it plans to better protect consumers, it didn't respond. Rosa Marcatelli, CBC News, Toronto.
Can robots be the key to elder care? How AI could hold the answer to Japan's aging population. We'll have more on that straight ahead.
Hey Winnipeg, the CBC Kids News contributor search is on, so get ready to shine.
We're looking for new talent to join our team, and we're coming to your city.
If you're the parent of a 9 to 15-year-old who loves making videos and is an amazing storyteller, come meet our hiring producers at CF Polo Park on Saturday, March 1st from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m.
To learn more, head over to cbckidsnews.ca/Winnipeg.
Who knows? This could be the start of something great.
A rapidly aging population in Japan has researchers turning to AI robots to provide elder care. The humanoid robot can carry out tasks critical in caring for seniors, like lifting patients and gently rolling them over to help prevent bed sores. What makes this robot special is its ability to safely make physical contact and adjust its actions in response to spontaneous human moves. Now, the long-range goal is to one day have the robot capable of working independently at a nursing care facility. The Japanese government funded the development in the face of a shortage of care workers and a fast-aging society. Very creative, inventive ideas to come up because we know all around the world we're dealing with staffing shortages when it comes to healthcare. So one thing that we're not short of right now is warm weather on the horizon.
Yeah, okay. Warm weather on the horizon. You know what, though? It did help because we saw the river trail opening up again. So yes, it did do some good things.
Yeah.
You can get outside for a little skate.
And if you wanted to get back out on the river, here, your prayers are answered.
Exactly.
So.
All right, I want to show you Feline Friday. I have plus a dog here because I hear this is Trofast and Rasmus. Thank you, Margaret and Bill from East Braintree in South Whiteshell. Margaret's birthday is Saturday, so that's why we threw the dog in there today as well. I know. We still got the cat in, though, so yeah, there we go. Minus 19. Sunny skies to start tomorrow morning. Really looking at a mix of sun and clouds across the province as we get through the day. Closer to seasonal, still a bit below seasonal for this time of the year at minus 7 as we get through the afternoon. Today, plus 3 was our official high in Winnipeg. I know, a bit deceiving. It didn't feel like that because this temperature actually from midnight. So that was early this morning as the day turned. We fell to minus 11 by the afternoon. So your afternoon temperatures in the minus teens for most of us across southern Manitoba and into northwestern Ontario. Minus 9 in Melita, the only single digit on the map there for Manitoba at least. Overnight, looking at temperatures close to or below the minus 20 mark for most of us, minus 23 into Kenora, Dryden, minus 21 in Winnipeg, minus 23 in Brandon. Mostly clear skies. Same for northern Manitoba, mostly clear. A bit of cloud hanging around minus 25s and 26s into Flin Flon and the Pas, minus 28 in Thompson overnight tonight. And we're starting cold tomorrow as we get through Saturday. Mostly sunny skies. I mean, a little bit of cloud cover as we get through the afternoon hours, but really not a lot of cloud cover to speak of as we get through into the afternoon hours. Minus 20 in Dauphin first thing tomorrow morning, minus 18 in Brandon, looking at minus 10 in Winnipeg by lunchtime tomorrow, and we're looking at temperatures warming up as we get into the afternoon hours, minus 7 in Winnipeg, minus 10s into Kenora, Dryden, into Fort Francis, as well as we get through into the day on Sunday. Look at this, temperatures rebounding quite nicely as we get into your Sunday, jumping up above seasonal again. We do keep the sunshine, although we will mix a little bit of cloud cover in as we get into the day on Sunday. Plus 1 in Winnipeg, plus 1 in Brandon, plus 3 in Dauphin. Maybe a bit of snow as we get later Sunday into Monday for parts of northern Manitoba, Brittany, and temperatures hanging around minus 3 into northern Manitoba for Sunday.
Okay, thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
Well, how many times have you avoided having your picture taken or asked to be cropped out of a family photo? All because your double chin or body rolls were visible and you just weren't comfortable. One local photographer says there's more to that double chin than just, quote, fatness. She spoke with Information Radio host Marcy Marcusa.
Yeah, well, I talk frequently about just accepting our bodies as they are. It's something I've been doing for the last decade with my photography and so on. But as far as when we started to probably dislike that part of ourselves, I know the 70s, 80s, and 90s were kind of the height of diet culture, where we learned that being bigger is bad, and women specifically have been taught to be smaller and more subdued through that era. So I'm sure if you look back, there was also probably information about that, but that was kind of the crux of it, because then it was those mothers, for the most part mothers, that impacted the daughters that now have a really hard time seeing parts of themselves in photographs.
And did that ring true to you ever in your own journey?
So I was quite lucky because my mom didn't actually subscribe to diet culture, which I always say I grew up very blessed. As a child of the 80s and 90s, my mom never really talked about her body image in front of me. However, and I asked my sister for permission to talk about her, she struggles with her double chin. So I was asking her questions about why is that something you struggle with? For me, it wasn't an issue because I always grew up as a bigger child. So I had to learn early on that my body's just a body, it's doing its job, and to kind of accept that fact and look beyond myself as a body. But my sister grew up in more of a societally acceptable body. So it's harder for her to see her body change as she ages, change with motherhood and things like that, because she used to fit into the very narrow mold that most of us are taught we should fit into. So even though we both came from the same mother, I think the different bodies that we grew up with made a difference with how soon we had to accept ourselves.
It's interesting because I know that I would say I grew up always as a bigger woman, always, couldn't fit the kids' clothes, always in the plus clothes. And so my body acceptance has always been quite positive as well. My mom also was really supportive, but my face has always presented slimmer. And so I do find I self-select photographs a lot where even, if I'm laughing, I'll see the double chin before I see the expression on my face. And what a shame. That's actually what you post about a little bit as well, that, how people feel when they're absorbing, looking at themselves. People are now paying money to get rid of double chins. What do you say to someone who would share with you that they're taking pains to even, alter themselves?
So I always like to make it very clear, especially as a body image educator, that I never want to fault somebody for doing the thing that they think they need to do in order to find confidence or feel good about themselves in a society that expects them to do that. And because, your body, your choice, that's what we want to perpetuate as much as possible. And so it does fall in that line. So instead of judging somebody for wanting to get a surgery or change their body in any way, instead, I think we need to look at the society that makes them feel that they need to do those things in the first place. Now, if somebody came to me saying they wanted advice about should I do this, should I not do this, I think I would just try to give them a different perspective on their double chin or whatever part of themselves they're curious about changing, and help them see that our double chin specifically are a genetics for the most part, because everybody of any size can have a double chin. It doesn't matter what size you are, but it's what that body part represents that is the thing that's getting us stuck, right? And we've been taught that if you have a double chin, it means that you're fat or bad, and fat is bad, or you're bigger and being bigger is bad. So we need to get rid of any evidence of that. And so I would just encourage them to understand, like you said, the photos of you where you have double chins or where you're being an expressive human. Would you take away your joy just so you don't have a double chin? I would hope not. And also, I would like to remind people, doing an exercise, which I talk about in my TED Talk, take your phone and take a photo from that angle. Realize that you're still alive. People still love you. And to be honest, that's the angle that your children, your grandchildren, your babies, your pets see you at. And they love you. Nobody cares at the end of the day. Nobody cares.
Isn't that a funny thing, right? That was part of your post on Insta where you were like, by the way, this is actually how everyone's seen you the whole time. So surprise. And they're seeing you. They're not seeing chin.
Yeah, exactly. Because again, when we look at ourselves in photographs or in a mirror or otherwise, our body parts come to represent certain parts of ourselves that we dislike. But when we look at somebody else that maybe has a very similar body to us, and we're like, oh my God, you're so beautiful. That's because we see their inherent goodness and, you know, the beautiful magic that other people are. But it's harder for us to see that in ourselves because we know all of our shame, our pain, our trauma, and so on. And we've been taught that, well, if you feel those things, it's a result of your body not adhering to beauty standards, which isn't true. So we have to do the work to kind of recognize, what am I actually afraid of? If it is that you are afraid of aging, why is that? Let's get curious about it. Who taught you that having a double chin is not a good thing? Where did you first learn that? Because these ideas were not yours to begin with. You learned them from somebody else.
Still ahead, how a lakeside community near Windsor, Ontario rallies together to save a stranded dog. Plus, Riley's back with a last check on our weekend forecast. Stay with us. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News.
So brighter day tomorrow. Still a bit on the chilly side, though, looking at a high around -7 in Winnipeg tomorrow afternoon. Winds a little bit gusty in the morning, but we'll see those starting to taper off as we get into the afternoon hours tomorrow. So more of a breeze as we get through out of the west through the afternoon hours. So -7 our high on Saturday, +1 for Sunday. Yes, we're jumping up above zero once again. +4 on the way for Monday. This signals a bit of a change as we see some cloud building in. Bit breezy as we head into Tuesday with a few flurries potentially as we get through the early part of the day, and then we're back below the freezing mark again for Wednesday and Thursday, highs of -1 and looking at a high of -4 with a mostly sunny sky as we head into Friday. Well, now to an unusual and maybe a bit of a dramatic rescue, the thing that you might see in a movie, a family pet stuck on a frozen lake for hours.
This is a story of how a lakeside community near Windsor, Ontario rallied together to save the stranded dog.
This was the exact moment when Rex the dog got rescued and reunited with his owners Jessica and Anthony Bondi after wandering on St. Clair Lake for over 28 hours.
We were in tears of joy, and then like all the people, there was probably 30 people in the little parkette. They're all crying and happy. They're like, "Oh, they got him!" And like it was a miracle. It was for sure. Dramatic.
The couple say their two dogs, Rex and Charlie, went out to the canal Wednesday morning, something they never did before. And while Anthony got Charlie back, Rex was still far out on the canal. They are thankful to a local rescue group whose 2 volunteers walked on the ice to locate Rex, and also a friend who went out with a snowmobile.
And he tried to kind of chase him back this way because he was running in the wrong direction. So he did a bit roundabout and got him running in the right direction. And then eventually he was able to capture him and bring him in. He came home completely unscathed. He's dry, he's healthy, he doesn't have any injuries, and he ate a big bowl of food, and now he's sleeping nice and cozy on the couch. So we couldn't be more happy.
Pratish Dayal, CBC News, Windsor.
Got a little bit of a prance going on, too.
I think so. After a little adventure, kind of looked like the vast open tundra on that lake there.
I think he's going to be sticking close to them for a little while now.
Probably under a blanket somewhere.
Yes, keeping those paws warm, too.
Exactly.
We'll keep warm tonight. It's going to be a much nicer weekend for you to get outside and enjoy, and we'll see you back here Monday.
Have a great weekend.